This is TWiT.
LastPass. We learned a little bit more about the LastPass breach.
Oh, my.
Mm-hmm. I mean, okay, you know what? One takeaway, not to defend them exactly, but they were clearly very specifically targeted, right? This was, and this was not a naive attack. What we found out in a more recent blog post from LastPass is that there were 4 DevOps guys who had the keys to the S3 buckets, the keys to all those data backups. One of the guys was working from home. I'm reading between the lines. He had a media client. I think it was Plex, because Plex had a known flaw.
It was Plex.
Yeah. He had a media client. So they had already hacked LastPass's, enterprise stuff, and they knew who these 4 people were. Then they targeted the 4 people. They got in through Plex and co-opted this DevOps machine and got the keys. This is a highly targeted attack. So to some degree, I'm glad LastPass revealed this. They also revealed that the backups came from last December, which was a relief for me because I deleted my vault before then. But is information we all needed because those are the vaults that were exfiltrated. Robert, you're good at this kind of red teaming. Did you read the post and understand what went on?
I did. So yes, definitely targeted. This is a lot different than some of the other breaches that we read about, where someone happens across an unsecured S3 bucket, or someone's credentials just get swept up into a list that gets sold, and it happened to land in the hands of someone who was able to use it to further their exploit. This was someone who was specifically looking for access to the Holy of Holies at LastPass.
They knew what they wanted.
So, I mean,
exactly.
They knew what they wanted. The first thing that I went to was Insider. I mean, someone with some inside information about the company, a disgruntled employee, someone who was fired by them, or a contractor that lost their contract. Because, I mean, just the per-op that you need to get past, it precludes just a group on the internet deciding to take down LastPass.
That's interesting. So they say a software engineer's corporate laptop was compromised, allowing the unauthorized threat actor to gain access to a cloud-based development environment and steal source code, technical information, and internal secrets. So that was the first incident. So you're thinking that first incident was actually an insider?
It's got to be. I mean, on either it's an inside information type deal, or someone got extremely lucky. Someone just spearphished the heck out of that company. And if they had, I think LastPass would have told us there was an attempt to spearphish the company back in so-and-so, and one of them was successful. That's not what they wrote.
No, this is all passive voice. It was compromised, but we don't know exactly how. But that first compromise, which I think happened in June or July, was then what allowed the second compromise, because once they had that information, the threat actor targeted a senior DevOps engineer exploiting a vulnerable third-party program, I think Plex, leveraged the threat actor to leverage the vulnerability to deliver malware onto that DevOps engineer's laptop, bypassing existing controls, and then ultimately gaining unauthorized access to the S3 buckets.
Yeah. That's too many levels for to be a random red attack.
Yeah.
I mean, you'd see so much attack traffic.
Right, and they would have learned early on. Yeah, they would have learned.
Yeah.
So in a way, that's bad news, because it means they were actively going after the vaults. It wasn't that they stumbled upon the vaults and, they have this, now what do we do? Right. You only go after the vaults if you're prepared to do what's next to compromise them.
So it was someone who had intimate knowledge of the inner workings of LastPass. It has someone who had inner knowledge of their code base. I mean, honestly, and that's proprietary. So if I were LastPass, I'd be looking down, who did we fire in the last 2 years?
They got DevOps secrets, restricted secrets that were used to gain access to the cloud-based backup storage. They got cloud-based information and configuration data, API secrets, third-party integration secrets, customer metadata, backups of all customer vault data. That's the phrase we were waiting to hear. They kind of danced around it in their last blog post. They got it all. They got all customer vault data, All sensitive vault data other than URLs, file paths to installed LastPass Windows or Mac OS software in certain use cases involving email addresses were encrypted using zero knowledge and can only be decrypted with a unique encryption key. But we know, people don't use strong master passwords because they need to remember them. And we also know that the key derivative function LastPass used was often set to a far too low number for modern attack vectors.
Now, there's a bellwether here, Leo. If we start to see a lot of random incursions on millions of accounts, then it's possible that this was someone who maybe they had some insider information, but they really intended to sell this information. If we don't see that, and instead this just really is the death knell for LastPass, that's a pretty good indicator of what the intent of the attack was. It was an attack so that I could sell information, or was it an attack to kill the company?
Interesting. I hadn't even thought of that. Yeah, because as far as we know, there was only one case with somebody who's suing LastPass saying their crypto keys were stolen. And you know how it is with crypto. There's so many other ways that could happen. We haven't seen any, as far as I know, nobody's said, oh, yeah, they must have gotten my vault because I've been attacked.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe that lends credence to your second scenario, that it wasn't about getting the vault. It was about putting LastPass out of
destroying
business.
Trust in the company. Yeah, exactly.
Holy cow. A competitor?
I mean, when you look at who the competitors are out there, Bitwarden? No.
I don't see one password taken.
One password took him down.
Kind of hard to imagine.
No. But it would have to be somebody who had a business. If it's that, boy, that's an interesting thesis. But you're right. We have not seen any evidence that those passwords are being used.
Never underestimate the ego of a hacker who has been shunned or embarrassed. What they will go to.
So it doesn't have to be a competitor. It could be a disgruntled former employee.
Really could. Yeah.
Holy cow.
I didn't do it. I'm going to put that out there right now. No, not involved.
I know a lot of people. Obviously, LastPass was a sponsor for a long time, and I know a lot of people there, including its founder, Joe Segrist, who is not at LastPass and has been there for years. There's some very, very good people there, but that would be tragic if it were somebody who was trying to kill that company. Because LastPass was a sponsor for so long, so many of our listeners and our LastPass customers, we still use LastPass Enterprise here at TWiT. We're trying to move off to Bitwarden, but it's a non-trivial process. Bitwarden's a sponsor now. Boy, wow.
But I mean, isn't this a death knell? If you are a company and the one thing you do is this, and it's gone now, how do you recover from that?
Yeah.
Right. Once your data's gone, it's gone.
Yep.
Yeah.
And people need to be able to trust you again.
Right?
You need to change the narrative to be able to people to trust you again. I don't think that's possible for them.
Yeah. I don't wish any ill to LastPass. And now I've been a little scathing about their practices, but now that we know more details, this could happen to anybody. Really.
Well, I mean, we got to be a little bit hard on them, though. I mean, there's some of the things that they've published that
they've made bad choices.
They made bad choices, like letting people with devices access their most prized secrets without locking these things down on they did say work laptops or devices, but the reality is these machines that they're allowed to access this type of data should be a lot more locked down than even a work laptop, right?
Yeah.
So I think that there's stuff like that I really lacks security practices, I think, in my eyes, for a lot of things they were doing.
I also blame them for not encrypting things like URLs. There's a lot of metadata that other companies encrypt that LastPass did not encrypt. But, they were following best practices with the password vault, as far as we know. Wow. Okay, you just gave us something to think about there, Robert. Very interesting. I think you might be right. Now that we know a little more about what happened, I think you might be right.
Hey, we should talk Linux. It's the operating system that runs the internet, but your game consoles, cell phones, and maybe even the machine on your desk. but you already knew all that. What you may not know is that TWiT now has a show dedicated to it, the Untitled Linux Show. Whether you're a Linux pro, a burgeoning sysadmin, or just curious what the big deal is, you should join us on the Club TWiT Discord every Saturday afternoon for news, analysis, and tips to sharpen your Linux skills. And then make sure you subscribe to the Club TWiT exclusive Untitled Linux Show. Wait, you're not a Club TWiT member yet? Well, go to twit.tv/clubtwit and sign up. Hope to see you there.